A prequel to a remake. What a time for horror the early 2000s were. With so many remakes and cash grabs in the early 2000s. It's almost refreshing that the studio didn't choose to do another sequel. But to be fair, that doesn't make it a good movie. So let's talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning. As the title states pretty clearly, it's the beginning of Leatherface and the family. The story is another basic Texas Chainsaw plot. They all reuse a very similar premise. A group of young adults go on a road trip through Texas to enlist in the army. During their drive, they get into a car accident, and the sheriff takes them to the Hewitt house, and the family and good old other boy toys with them and tortures them. Like I said, it's very similar to every other Texas Chainsaw film, which leads to the film feeling very samey. It almost feels safe because it's another storyline that we've already seen in much better films. But what's not safe is the characters. This film has a very torture porn vibe feeling to it. And you gotta remember that this came out in 2006, so Saw and Hostel were the hot shit at the time. This was the short, 3 to 6 year, torture porn craze that Saw and Hostel started. And so I very much see why they would do a torture porn-esque Texas Chainsaw with slasher undertones. These characters are beat to shit and put through hell. This film is very mean-spirited. And the characters aren't bad people, and they kind of don't deserve to be, tortured so much, but they are. But because of all that, it doesn't shy away from the violence. Well, it tries not to. Because from my research, it seems like 17 scenes had to be toned down for the violence. So I'm even shocked that they got away with what they did. And I can see where, certain scenes are cut because it's there's really weird, cutaways that you're huh, I figured that they would show more. And then I'm oh, they were planning to show more. So with all this violence, how's Leatherface in this? Pretty solid. This design for him is probably my favorite. Pretty easily. It's really simplistic. But like I always say, sometimes simple is better. He just looks really nasty and is gnarly. And since it's a prequel, we actually see him starting his love for chainsaws and murder. But instead of implying that his family, eases him and forces him to kill, we fully see it. Leatherface is essentially being manipulated and forced into this life, but at the same time, they kind of make you feel bad for him, but it's this guy's still a psychopath even without his family. So, and if it wasn't for Leatherface and horror movie fans' love for the character, this film would have very few redeeming qualities. Characters are all archetypes. The film has this constant drab tone and lack of any color or technical prowess. There is no really interesting shots or angles or nothing like that. And it's about as basic as a film can get. There's not really much to talk about here. Why? Because we've all seen this film before. It's so similar to the 2003 remake that it kind of feels like a remake of the remake in a weird way, because it's very, very similar. So we didn't really need this film, but seeing Leatherface's, I guess you want to say, origins or how he got to be the way he is was a nice yet short touch. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning, it isn't the worst movie ever. I don't even think it's the worst in the franchise, but it's far from good. The best way to describe it is the film just exists. It's just there. It's a decent background watch. It'll pass an hour and a half for you easy. So, it's just there. But like always, that's just my view, my opinion. Thank you for watching. Feel free to tell me your thoughts on it. I'm always, open to talk about movies. So keep trying to do better and keep being good people.